We're live?
We're live.
We're live! Oh my gosh, there's applause, BC. Aren't you so excited? Thank you, thank you. It's so great to see you all. So great to see.
Big live audience here tonight.
They're really on it. They stopped altogether.
Oh, man. A lot of folks in the chat to say hi to, but would you like to do the honors as usual?
Yeah. Welcome to the Homebrew Guys podcast, episode 14, excuse me. We are two guys who do a lot of homebrewing, have the passion of not going and buying things all the time. So
It's nice.
We've converted to doing this. And we do this show all about the news that happens in the world of homebrewing and what's happening in our own channels, because we both have channels, if you're unaware of that. So we do this fun show once a month with different segments all about what's happening in the world of homebrewing.
World of homebrewing. We got a lot on the docket tonight.
There is. There's a lot of I feel like I say this every time, but there's a lot of weird happening in this one. And something always tops it. There's always something that happens and you're like, "Oh, okay, well, now this is the most weird thing." So, yeah. But we just got back from we're going to kind of switch to some things we've been doing first.
Yeah.
We just got back from a big road trip down to Texas, a meadery tour, some might say.
It was wild. We were out like 12 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Left at 9,
When
got
you say
back
it like
at 9.
that, it doesn't sound very impressive. We were at 12 hours.
What? You picked me up at 9?
A 12-hour tour.
A 12-hour tour. We drove down to Texas, went to 3 different meaderies, and then drove back to Oklahoma.
Yep.
It was a long day, but I thought it was really educational. I learned
that
a
was
lot.
our main, I don't know how to say main purpose. We wanted to go and see some friends for sure, but then also there was a side of us as we investigate, hopefully going commercial one day in some form or fashion.
Would love that.
How do you do that? What are some things we got to watch out for? So
Everybody has dreams of going pro.
right. I mean, there are a lot of people here who are like, I'm going to do it one day, and we're in the same boat,
Yeah, it would be a lot of fun if I had $1 million.
Yeah. It's so it was dual intent in that we wanted to see our friends down in Texas, the Fox and Raven crew.
Yep.
And then we also
Bryce
knew
and Savannah.
Yes, we also knew that there were some meaderies, which we don't have local to us necessarily.
No,
and
not
so,
in Oklahoma City.
It's just easier to go down there actually than going to Ada, Oklahoma,
Yeah,
which is the closest one, or Tulsa.
And we were able to hit 3 meaderies all within like a little triangle of each other. It was like a 10-minute drive to each.
That's crazy how close they were.
Yeah.
And vastly different too, I will note.
Oh my God, yeah.
There was different processes happening at each one, different kinds of mead themselves, obviously. But I just felt like they were very characteristically different, which is fun.
So the first one we went to is called Believe Meadery.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a one-guy shop, and it's in like an industrial park. And he does, for the most part, fruited meads.
Yep.
They're all 6% ABV. He brews them up in 100-gallon batches. And he serves them on tap so you can get tasting flights. We tried everything.
Yep.
Not one of
And
everything.
he talked to us the whole time.
He did. He talked to us the whole time.
But we played a bit of a game. I think we got to mention that too.
Yeah.
As we were going down there, we didn't want to. Neither of us wanted to be the people to be like, well, do you know who we are? Because that's just, I don't think that's our personalities in any way. So we went in and sort of pretended to be unaware in a way. I was, BC kind of played the character of a beginner homebrewer with limited knowledge. And then I was like maybe like 2 steps ahead of him, still in the beginner intermediate area. And so I asked maybe some more in-depth questions, but we definitely did not go in saying like, well, you should listen to us, because that was not our goal at all.
Yeah, no, we wanted to hear what they had to say. And they're saying that the video is lagging a little bit, so I switched over to performance mode. I'm just checking your bandwidth real quick. It was fun to like kind of play the dumb guy who knows enough to get in trouble.
Yeah.
So like Garrett would ask these questions about like, what yeast are you using? What, ppm sulfites, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
beginner stuff for sure.
Yeah. I'm like, what's
what kind of water you got here?
Oh yeah. What's a Campton tablet? And so it was a good time. We had fun. He was great though.
He was really nice and
super helpful.
We learned a lot about that smaller scale. I think that was a big thing too. Was looking at the different sizes. Obviously, big time meaderies are making 500 plus gallon batches regularly, and this guy was making 75. I think was his cap or something like that.
He said his jugs were 100-gallon jugs, and he was like 60 pounds of honey he was using at a time, and then he would put in the fruit and do a balancing act with the bricks of the fruit and how much honey he was adding, so his dry ABV would be at 6%.
Yep.
And then he does no back sweetening. So when it's done, it's done.
Which, it was interesting. It's really fun. So we went there. Then we went to, oh my gosh, I forgot the name of the second one we went to.
So they are saying that the video is all kinds of laggy here. Sorry.
Do you want to, is it your aspect ratio? Did we mess it up? We made a tweak before because previously we were very flat. I think you can maybe switch it on there.
To what?
Oh, I don't know. Is it your out?
I haven't changed anything.
I don't know. What was the output on before?
Something weird. Like one of these.
Oh.
So it's on 720.
Still laggy even within performance mode.
So they said when I switched it to performance mode, they said it was like they were watching PowerPoint slides.
What?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I don't know. It also could be the internet's not pushing very much. Are you on the extender Wi-Fi? Will you click your Wi-Fi real fast? Will you go? I can give you. Oh shoot! I don't know if we can do that right now.
Yeah, I don't think we can. Well, they can just deal.
Well, hopefully it gets better.
They can just listen.
Let's hopefully it gets better. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I haven't had to run performance mode on here since I got this new laptop. So,
well, let's see what happens.
We'll see.
And
what happens.
if it's terrible, we'll figure something out.
Yeah, keep us updated in the chat.
Yep.
So believe meadery.
Yep.
I think the raspberry was my favorite thing that we had there.
He had a good peach too. It was like a white peach. It was very interesting.
Mm-hmm. And then he had a ginger.
Yeah.
That was made with 3 different types of ginger, which was really interesting.
The interesting thing was he talked about outsourcing lots of different pieces of equipment and just ingredients, and it was wild hearing how many places he was finding these things. So that was cool too.
Yeah, he like got stuff from everywhere, different countries.
He just kept
states.
throwing out country names. Yeah,
it was wild.
But then we went over. I have retro meter in my.
They're just making fun of us in the chat.
Well,
Beedrick says that you need to straighten out your network cables because if there's a kink, the ones can get trapped. The zeros around are.
Well, you were just doing that speed test, and I'm definitely paying for more internet speed than than was being put out there. So I'm a little bit perturbed by what is happening.
Yeah, we're pushing download speed of 28-ish megabit.
I'm supposed to have about 1,000.
You're not
and
getting
my
that.
upload's supposed to be about 40. So
Yeah.
I'm about to make a call.
I think
this next week and say this is not.
I think part
cool.
of our problem is your upload speed is about 5 megabit, and so it
That's
may
crazy.
not be.
Why is it so bad?
Yeah, it's the weekend.
That's awful.
Everybody's on trying to watch this podcast, and so it's choking up the tubes.
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll hope the video goes fine. You guys know this is mostly an audio situation anyway. So we went from Believe to mead.
That's
breaking mead. Breaking mead.
Breaking brew.
Breaking brew.
Breaking brew.
Meadery.
Yes.
It was mid.
It was it was very different. It was very sweet, and they leaned into way different flavors. They were going more root beers and extreme flavors, I would say, than before, but they were bigger. Apparently, we went to their tap house, and they have a whole place where they're brewing separate.
And the guy behind the bar, while he was incredibly polite, didn't know anything about the process. So, I asked just a couple of very like basic questions, just trying to I asked, do you guys brew in one batch and then flavor in secondary? And he's like, I don't know.
Right. He's like, I just pour, man.
That guy's not here.
So we went there, and then our last stop was Fox and Raven Mead
for a private tour.
Oh yes, we got to check out their brew space and taste some great mead. Sit there and chat with them for a couple hours. We spent probably 2 or 3 hours there. Mm-hmm. He helped me. Bryce helped me finish up a video.
Yep.
And coincidentally, they had the same kind of mead in house at that moment. So it was kind of cool. We kind of A/B tested. So yeah. I think it was a great time. Learned a lot. And we're planning on hopefully maybe getting to do more spots in the future. Obviously, Texas is close, and it's hard to get to some other places. But if we can find a little hub with lots of meaderies, it's great for us to try new things.
Yeah, it was a really excellent use of a day. It was a long day.
Yeah.
But I feel like I came back not necessarily with a lot of new information, but maybe a lot of new perspectives.
Realistic information.
Yeah, on how all of that can work.
Right.
And, obviously some, I wouldn't do it that way kind of perspectives.
It was definitely eye-opening for me, I would say. So we learned some stuff, and we're back, and we're, again, hopefully our path, while we don't know when it will be, we are, like many of you, thinking about opening that meadery.
Yeah, for me, obviously, it takes a lot of money to start a meadery, and it takes a lot of preparation, and so it's one of those things that would be so far off in the future that I can't, tangibly think about it in the moment, but I love the idea of offering something like what we like in this area, because Oklahoma, and Oklahoma City particularly, but Oklahoma is a dead zone for mead.
Right.
We can't even get Meridian Hive stuff up here.
The one guy who is doing a lot of stuff in Tulsa, he's just now getting to Oklahoma City with things. Mm-hmm. And his is okay, no one's doing especially session strength stuff. And I feel like that's where a lot of the market is, at least right now.
Yeah, but what we're also seeing in Oklahoma City is breweries closing down left and right,
mm-hmm.
and rumors of more closures coming. I was talking to a friend who is friends with the owner of a local brewery that has been rumored to be on the brink, and I asked him, and he said they're doing everything they can to keep this place alive. And I'm like, I hear about this place all the time.
Right.
How can this be happening? But I think we've got a lot of oversaturation here. And there's just the same stuff everywhere. There was a 6-month stretch where everything was sours and pickle beers, and it's just how does any brewery or winery differentiate themselves in the space? I think mead is a natural differentiation point, but it requires a lot of startup capital.
Yeah. It does make me nervous. I don't know. We have a lot of conversations we're having behind the scenes, so you will undoubtedly be updated if these steps go further. But
Christian says they are enjoying the second batch of an altered version of my Wampus Cat Braggot recipe right now.
There
Very
you go.
Nice. Hey, Melisandra. Javier says we should come down to the Texas Ren Fair and try some mead. You want to do that? Go do some cosplay?
Let's do it, man.
I'll be a wench. Well, what are we drinking here? This is a beer.
It's a golden ale. This is a beer I brewed a while back. New England, is it American Pale Ale? I'm learning this. Mead categories are very straightforward to me.
Mm-hmm.
Beer categories,
that
gets wonky. I submitted 2 beers, and I actually submitted this one, and I had to go through and figure out what the heck I'd actually made so I could put it in the right category. Because
type it all into Brewfather, and
my recipe said golden ale, and then I was like, okay, well, obviously golden ale is not a style you could submit for, so what is that? And so I eventually figured out American Pale Ale.
All right.
But kudos to the people who just know, because there's 40,000 beer styles.
There's a lot.
It's
a lot going on out there. So would you like to try my sand plum mead?
Let's do it.
Then we can move on to the news. If you're just joining us, hopefully the video quality is improving. We're having a little bit of internet trouble here, but you can follow along. You can follow along with our voices. We have these soothing radio voices. Here, hit me with a ba-dum-tsh.
Oh, wait, which one was it? I think it's this one.
There we go. We got a sound machine now.
Oh, yes, we do. Sorry, anyone in the car who just got roaring applause.
So this is Sandplum mead. It did well at Orpheus. Predictably, it did not do well at Mazer. But Sandplum is a fruit that's native to Oklahoma and other parts of like the southern United States. And it's characteristic because you know the fruit's ripe when you find it laying in the sand around the tree. Right? So I've located a few trees in my foraging spot.
And he will not share the details.
I won't share the details. And foraged a bunch of sandplums last year and made this mead. I've got a bunch in the freezer now. And so I'm curious what you think.
This is with some age. I tried it a while back.
I think you tried it when it was still in the fermenter.
Yes, because I remember you're going to send it off and you're like, what should I do? And I was like, you need to back sweeten it because it's so tart. And you're like, I've already done it to like a bunch. And
I did. I back sweetened this one twice. And there was something like 2.5 pounds of honey in a 1 gallon batch to back sweeten. So pretty considerable amount of back sweetening. But sandplums are incredibly astringent and tart. And so a lot of times in Oklahoma, they're made into jelly because you have so much sugar that you basically like boil the sand plums, extract all the flavor, mix them with a ton of sugar and gelatin and make it into jelly so it's palatable. But you can't really...
It does have a very jelly, jammy like...
You can't really eat a sand plum. I mean, you can.
Right.
My baby and I do. We'll go and I'll pick one and we'll like pucker up when we eat them. But they don't even make like preserves out of sand plums. They just make jelly, like no flesh.
All right, I'm ready.
Go for it, man.
It's definitely still acidic, and it keeps lifting. That's what's crazy to me. This acid goes like this. Like it's
Can you
acidic.
believe there's 2.5 pounds of honey in a 1 gallon?
But yeah, it's hard to tell that there's a lot of sweetness here.
Mm-hmm.
It's not bad, especially when you know what it is. It's just a very interesting fruit. I would say that it's definitely not my favorite fruit. There's nothing about this that's like, oh, I gotta go get some sand plums now. But it's not bad. It's just very interesting. And the tartness is palatable.
Yeah.
Especially after that first sip. The first sip is like, whoop, and then you kind of go, okay, I know what's happening here.
I like it. It tastes just
it's
like
much smoother than it was that one time I tasted
it. It tastes just like a sand plum, which is, like you just said, not really a fruit for everyone. It's very tart, very astringent. It's very kind of like mouth sucking. It like gets you right up in your salivary glands. Pretty intense. All right, you want to jump into the news?
We're going into the news. That's our new jingle.
Let us know what you think of the sound machine.
It probably will not change.
All right. So first up, we've got this guy Rudy.
Rudy's back.
Rudy is back. He's in the fake wine game. So this guy Rudy, he went to prison years ago.
As many Rudys have done.
he was in there for 10 years because he was counterfeiting wine. And I guess got in enough trouble that they prosecuted him. He went to prison. Now he's back out, and he is making fake wine yet again. So what's interesting, Garrett just ran off for a moment. What's interesting about this is the way he's getting around getting in trouble for his fake wines again is he is selling it as an experience. So you can now taste his counterfeit wine against the real deal.
I love counterfeit wine.
So what's interesting about this guy, though, is he's counterfeiting vintages. Like, he is making a new wine, but it would be replicating a 2013 bottle from some random spot in the French hills.
Yeah.
And he's making it new, but he has such a good palate that he can kind of direct the fermentation to where he wants it to be, so that when you do a side-by-side, it's nearly indiscernible. And that's what got him in trouble, is he was counterfeiting these really bougie bottles of wine.
I feel like it's one thing if you're like saying, that's what I'm going to do.
Well, that's what he's doing now.
That's what I mean is like when you're saying that, then you get in trouble. But if you're just, I don't know.
Yeah, so now you can pay him a bunch of money and you sit down and he's got the real deal and his fakes, and you can taste and do like a tasting experience to learn about how he faked.
Do you think he's
so
pasteurizing them for extra
age? Yeah, I hear that's a thing. I think this is super interesting. I would love to meet this guy. You can maybe get him on your other podcast. Could be interesting. I'm sure he's clout chasing right now.
His last name's about as chaotic as Mandy's.
It's a big last name. What all the links to these stories will be in the description here in the next day or two. Mm-hmm. You should definitely go read about this guy. It's spell his last name. It's a K.
I'm just laughing. K-U-R-N-I-A-W-A-N.
Yeah, Rudy Kurniawan.
I mean, kudos to him for having that kind of palate. That's
fascinating.
Impressive. I would be curious to actually go through that tasting.
Like, imagine getting a bottle of Schramm's or Superstition from like one of their.
We're gonna talk about them, don't we?
I know we are, from one of their reserves, and being like, I can make a 5-gallon batch that perfectly replicates this, and then just doing it.
It would be nice.
And then slapping a Vistaprint Schramm's label on there and selling it on the dark web.
Hey, it's pretty impressive. I will yield to that, but obviously illegal if you are not. I don't know. Probably a way to do it without getting yourself in trouble. Would not recommend you go do this.
I think it's fascinating.
As public, at least.
Fascinating.
So we're going to switch from great tasting wines to beers, made from wastewater. Now, I know some of you are already going, what on earth? Don't worry, it's in Arizona.
Yeah, nobody lives there.
Nobody lives in So Desert Monks Brewing in Gilbert, Arizona, is embracing sustainability and innovation. That's what I think is funny here, by using purified and recycled wastewater to craft some of its beers. Now, I'm wondering, are they doing it with all, or it says some? It's kind of an interesting thing. So they're basically just going straight. I mean, we're all using purified water in a way, but like.
But this is like gray water. It's like a specific reservoir that they can buy the water from.
They're like, I want that water.
Yeah. Read that quote at the end there.
We think it makes a beer better, Decker says. It's amazingly flavorful and aromatic.
Yeah, so he's saying that the chemistry of this wastewater actually makes tastier beer.
You know all the things that are in it?
I'm so dubious. And I know that a lot of this is probably marketing gimmick so that they can get clicks and headlines, but
I mean, they're doing it.
The way they talk about it in the article sounded disgusting. It did not sound like this was a thoughtful process.
This says the purified water sourced from a treatment plant in Scottsdale has been in use for 2 decades, but hasn't been consumed directly. So they're basically just taking all the previously not consumed water and using that.
That sounds gnarly, dude.
You know, if your yeast can survive that water, I'm sure that they are pretty good.
Okay, this one's more up my alley. Have you ever had an apple cider donut?
I actually think I have. It's like within the past year.
They're good,
I had one.
So Brown's Bakery just closed down here.
That's where I had it.
But Brown's had amazing apple cider donuts, and like I would just get them by the dozen. It used to be back during lockdown when like you were really discouraged from going anywhere. Saturday morning routine was to like order some donuts and kolaches from Brown's Bakery.
Yeah.
Because it's right up the road, super cheap. You get like a ton, so it carries over into Sunday. And they closed down recently. The owner's retiring, done with it.
They're around for a long time too.
They've been down there in Midtown forever. So this guy has built a map and I think it's currently like New England area only, but he's built a map to help you find the best apple cider donuts. You know, sometimes you have an itch and you got to scratch it. And sometimes that you're scratching.
So can people contribute to this map?
I think so. Yeah, I think you can send him recommendations. So, like I said, I think currently it's in the New England area. It's like based on Google Maps, so it's publicly available. And he said if there's enough interest, he's going to expand it to the rest of the country.
I like this quote, emphasizing factors like fry level, crumb density, and apple taste in the batter.
Yeah, and I guess on his Instagram, he's got a reel that teaches you how to properly reheat your donut so it tastes fresh the second day.
So I wonder how that is. Is he fry panning a donut?
I honestly, I think it has something to do with like microwaving it, covering it, and putting it in the microwave.
Oh.
I've got Larry, Kyle, and Dogstick Fetch all utilizing their long-term membership benefits.
Thank you for Jordan. Everyone who joins from now on will get applause.
Wow, you can become a member or a patron on this channel. Just click the join button below here, or look in the description for the link to my Patreon. These are all the fine folks who support my channel, and these are all the folks who support your channel.
Thank you to all these people. You literally help the channel continue to run.
For real though. He and I roll up to his house, and usually he lets me in through the side door. Tonight the garage door goes up, and he's swinging this big old bucket of honey to bring it to my car. We recently split a big honey order, and so that comes from my YouTube and Patreon members.
Yeah.
My ability to buy vast sums of honey and just chuck it into a fermenter to see what happens. So
Same.
Appreciate y'all. I got mesquite.
I got raspberries, so we'll see how that goes.
I've never brewed with mesquite.
I have a long time ago, and it was good. I liked it.
So, yeah, cider donuts, amazing stuff. There's a map. If you live in the New England area, that will be incredibly relevant to you. Mm-hmm. And apparently fall is like cider donut season. That's when you're seasonally supposed to...
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Logically.
I get them year-round.
Well, BC.
Yes, sir.
If both of our careers go south, I have an option for us.
Oh, yeah?
You see, we could move to Alabama.
Uh-huh.
We could start going to Auburn University.
Yeah.
And we could get ourselves...
What do you suppose what do you suppose the mascot for Auburn University is?
I hope it's a beer now. I mean, that only makes sense at this point. You could get a degree in brewing. It's a master's program in brewing science and operations.
It's pretty cool.
Just started up. The first cohort is graduated in August 2023. Last name Danderson. It's pretty cool. There you go. And it's the only one out there. The only place you can go and get a degree in brewing.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, hopefully you're not under the age of 21 watching this, but if you are shopping for colleges, there you go. If you want to go brew some beer and wine and mead and cider and learn how to be a pro.
Yeah, OSU, I don't know if they still have it, but they used to have a brewing program. It wasn't a degree, but you could go through, I think it was a semester program, and I signed up for it to like, you know how you can like audit a class, and then I just like lost track of time and never actually.
You're like, actually.
But it's that similar. Like they go through the science of fermentation. They take it all down to its nuts and bolts. They do a brewery tour with the class as part of it. So if they're still doing that, maybe they should take a page out of Auburn's.
Apparently, they have an on-campus brewing company there. The New Realm Brewing Company is on campus. And they get hands-on learning experience.
I wonder if you have to be 21.
Surely. But yeah, how would that work? You're like 18. You're like, I want to brew some beer. No. Sorry. It's a master's, though. So theoretically.
Oh, yeah. Theoretically, you would already be in your 5th year by that point. Okay.
I'm sure somebody's tried to game the system, though.
Boomer sooner, baby. I can't say that too loud. I saw your wife was wearing a Pokes hoodie downstairs.
Watching the OSU game.
Yeah.
Yeah, come charging up here. And
I know.
Remind you what happened.
Put an orange cowboy hat on me. Yeah. Final bedlam. got whomped. Okay. Well, that was the news.
I've been dreading this after it was pulled out today. I heard about a concoction.
Oh, are we on to that?
Well, I would not like to end my night with that.
Okay.
I'd like to have some time to...
Let me give you some context.
Yes. Oh. I received this bottle... Well, it showed up at my door in the day of. It was a, hey, you're about to get a package.
Yeah. So you were expecting this, at least.
The day of, yes. The day of it arriving.
Okay. So this came from our pal Fat Bresket. Yeah, he had hit me up about it, and I was like, don't send it to the P.O. box. That don't exist anymore. He said, don't worry, it's on its way to Garrett's. So I'm going to put this on the screen. I for the record, I am revolted by this. And I don't use that term often. Yeah, I'm not a picky person.
No, you have ate some sketchy things. Drank some sketchy things.
I'm going to put this recipe up on the screen. This is, I guess, Grandma's Family Recipes was going viral this week.
You're going to grab yourself some... This is orange creamsicle moonshine.
1 gallon of orange juice. No Sunny D.
No pulp. No pulp.
Bonus points if you use Sunny D for this. Yeah, no pulp, granulated sugar, vanilla extract. The weirdest, most disgusting part of this is the French vanilla liquid coffee creamer. And then they hit it with Everclear and vodka and throw it in a mason jar. Anyway, this was like a briefly lived meme on my Discord server this week. And then I guess they decided to gift us a bottle.
It's not fermented, so it's easy to make. I think that's the truth of it, is you can throw this thing together tonight if you feel so inclined.
It says BC Boof Juice. God bless. So we're going to try this. I am incredibly reluctant to try this.
I'm worried about my physical health. Is my body going to...
I am always reluctant to try anything that viewers submit. No shade, but a random bottle shows up.
Yep. It can be sketchy.
You know how that is.
I'll tell a story from a long time ago. When I got to 100 subs or something, somebody had sent me a bottle of something, and they wanted me to review it on the channel or something. And so I said, no, I'm not going to do any on the channel reviews.
It smells good.
And I drank this thing. It smells normal. I drank this brew. I didn't have the heart to tell him it was rancid. I mean, I don't know what he did to it. I thought he had put poison in it, but that scared me for a long time because it was terrible.
And you were like, well, what if we started a mead competition and we just drank everybody's meads?
And then here's the more embarrassing one. Another guy sent me something, and I put up my camera, my iPhone at the time, and I started the record button, and I remember sitting at the table going, and I literally said it loud, I don't want to drink this. I don't want to do this right now. Okay, I'm just going to do it.
Uh-huh.
Drank it, whatever, it was fine. But then I forgot to cut that part out of the
video
before I sent it to him.
Oh, no.
And I felt really bad. But he was really cool about it. He was like, hey, I understand, whatever. He was just super chill about it. But I was like, man. I was so mortified.
I would be, yeah.
This just looks like orange juice.
I mean, that's the most of the constituent parts.
Look at the legs.
So somebody was asking, because I guess French vanilla creamer has oil in it, what would happen to that? There are some floaties on top.
There are definitely floaties. Not pulp, though. It's reflective.
Yeah, no, there's a sheen. There's definitely a sheen on top.
Shall we?
I don't... Oh.
We're doing this together. I'm not doing this separate.
It smells a little mapley.
Yeah.
You picking that up?
I get a lot of that vanilla and orange.
That pre-cooked bacon that's maple flavored?
Oh, yeah.
It's got a little bit of that.
I could get that.
This smells like a McDonald's breakfast. Like if you mixed all of the parts of a McDonald's breakfast together. All right. I'm not drinking. We're just gonna sip
I'm
this,
sipping
right?
it.
Okay. It's not good.
That's not good. I wouldn't do that. I mean, it's
it's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be.
But there's I think like the inhale. My inhale feels weird.
The vanilla tastes like a candle.
Yeah,
it's very fake.
Yeah, I don't recommend Grandma's orange creamsicle surprise, whatever we're gonna call that thing.
BC's boof juice.
Yeah, I don't recommend BC's boof juice.
That's gross.
Don't do it.
It's very, very disgusting. But definitely shout out to Brescott for sending it to us. I think he overnighted it.
He was committed to
I did not ask for this. I did not want this. I was
very
openly
committed.
critical of this, and he sent it along.
That's what made them want to do it.
Dedication to the joke, I guess. I would give that a 2 out of 10.
Yes. I agree.
I know some might give it an 11 out of 10, but all right, let's move on to the social media hijinks.
So,
I got this first one. I'm taking this first one.
Okay.
Yeah, because this comes from my Discord.
These are from, you got to specify. So what we just talked about before, everything we found is kind of on the internet. But this is more so from social media platforms like Reddit, Facebook, Discord, places where we're getting news from that way. Not traditional news sources. Most of the other ones came from a Google search and, this is in the...
Yeah, or something that just happens to breeze by my Reddit. And I'm like, oh, that's relevant.
Yeah.
So... to that point, there is a Homebrew Guys Discord channel on the Man-Made Me Discord server. If you see a cool project around the internet, grab that link, drop it in there.
Yep.
So we've talked about user-submitted links before. It helps us out if you see something cool to send it our way. So we go out looking, but if you see something cool, it's gonna, it's easier for us to just say, hey, Brescott sent me this cool link. Let's check this out. So that being said, this actually comes from my Discord server. So on my Discord server, every now and then, there is a randomly appearing augmented reality game in the style of like a D&D dungeon crawler, but with real-world elements and clues scattered about the web or dropping into people's mailboxes suddenly. And so the ARG just wrapped a couple weeks ago, and our team successfully defeated the villains in their adventure, and then they're allowed to sign up for Mage Mail after that, which is where our wizard sends them something in their mailbox. Well, what happened this time around? There were 10 people who were dedicated players of the game, and they each received a postcard with one step of a recipe on it. So they are all in the Discord server, the Doing the Most Discord server, cobbling together all the clues from all of these postcards. And they've got all but one of the clues out of 10 put together.
So somebody's not checking their mail. Is that what we're catching?
That person, I believe, won't be home until Monday.
Okay.
So this is a recipe. I'll spoilers, I guess, a little bit for anyone who's following along. But this recipe was developed by our boy Dogstick Fetch, inspired by the mythical world of the game. And he actually brewed this and has tested it out and come up with this recipe.
Tried and true recipe.
It's a tested recipe. And then we sent it out to everybody. And it's apparently Tank already went out and has bought ingredients for it.
That's very fun.
She's getting it going. Jake tells me when he was working on this, he sent a message and said, I kind of don't want to give this recipe away because it's actually really good. And I think I want to send it to competition.
Can I?
Yeah.
Make something less nice?
So that's it. That's the recipe for Red Sloom. And yeah, I know, right?
What a name.
And that came out of my Discord server. So if you go to discord.doingthemost.org and find the Discord channel that's just a seemingly bunch of random numbers, that is where they are playing the ARG. And
you're in the right place.
Check the pinned posts in there for details on how you can brew the mysterious Red Sloom recipe.
The mysterious red Sloom. That sounds like the start of a book. The bartender slid me a glass of red Sloom across.
Throw me a glass of Sloom. Speaking of, there's this post from Ask Reddit.
We're really good at these segues.
Yeah, I know, right?
This time. So, another social media post from Reddit. This was a question posed by a Redditor named Sergio Kindle. He said, bartenders of Reddit, if somebody comes up to your bar and says, I'll take a beer, like in the movies, what beer are you giving them? This is definitely one I'm curious for our chat.
Yeah.
Very curious, chat. What are you going to do? What are you going to say?
I want to turn it around on you.
Okay.
You're walking into a bar. Say you're at like the Denver International Airport. You got a 2-hour layover. And you belly up to the bar and you say, give me a beer. What beer do you expect to be served?
Like a Blue Moon.
Yeah?
Not just because.
So not like a Michelob Ultra or something like that. Like,
no,
you think it would be like
I feel
in,
like the
in a
person
crafty realm?
would go in between. I don't know. Maybe I'm assuming the bartender's intentions there, but I would think that they would go in between. Maybe at an airport, definitely at an airport. Now, if you walked into cheapo bar here in Oklahoma City, so give me a beer, it's going to be a PBR or a Michelob Ultra or a Coors Banquet or Light or something, in that regard.
I think you're probably right about the Blue Moon. I think they would clear it though. I can see them saying, "Blue Moon, okay?"
Yeah. Well, because
Shock top
would be a little bit, maybe more of an upcharge, possibly.
Yeah. I would expect a Blue Moon or a Shock Top if they're like in that like well drink kind of realm. I could see them doing like a Coors Banquet or something. But here in Oklahoma City, if you walked into a bar and said, "Give me a beer," I have a feeling they would just do like a Bud Light or a Coors Light or
like a Boulevard Wheat or something like that.
Think so? Because they can upcharge it?
Because it's in because it's like it is an advanced, so to speak, Blue Moon, something like that.
Fun Pants says Blue Moon is the go-to airport beer.
Blue Moon's not bad. It's the one I used for my party beer. That was a party beer for me. Because it was just above. I learned that you never take nice beer to a party. I learned that the first time I went to a party and brought like something that was a 6-pack of.
Yeah, it's got like
something more crafty.
Foil wraps on it.
Oh, it was not that fancy, but it was still, it's like an IPA or something,
Comes in a wooden 6-pack holder.
And like they all got stolen within like 5 minutes. So I was like, okay, well.
None for me, I guess.
Yeah, that $12 is gone.
Need for Meat says Dogfish had 60-minute IPA. I don't know if that's a joke, but I actually wouldn't be surprised if I got one of those at an airport bar.
I could see that, yeah. That feels...
Because it's like just mainstream enough, but also like I've got a big beard, and so they might be like...
You look IPAs.
You look like an IPA guy. You look like the type.
Kind of hops you a hop guy? What kind of hops do you like?
Let's see. Kyle says Heineken or Stella. Stella, I could see. That's Stella's like on par with Blue Moon when it comes to...
Yeah.
Like bougie, but not...
A lot of these people aren't even talking about beer. They're like, I would get a Jack and Coke, or or what was this? One was like a ginger something. I'm like, this isn't beer.
Larry says Yingling is the common one around there these days. We just got Yingling here in Oklahoma. What, about a year ago?
Nobody answered the question, which is funny. A lot of people. It's just a lot of Redditors going back and forth.
That's how they do, though. They get on there and they're like, "Oh, I'll answer the question I wish you had asked, not the question you actually did ask."
That was interesting. That it is because it could go anywhere. It really also depends on where you're at too, I guess. Like, what's the big one around there? Are you in a place where Guinness flows? Then Guinness might be the thing you get.
Dog Sick Fetch says Budweiser. Kyle says BC's Booth Juice. God bless.
Hey, you look like a BC Booth Juice kind of guy.
They had it at the airport.
I mean, you spike that thing with even more liquor,
more alcohol.
Yeah, and it's gonna.
Trevor says Yingling is when you ask for a lager in Pennsylvania, they'll hit you with a Yingling.
Interesting.
They just don't make them like they used to. That's a meme you might have missed. You want to take this next one?
Tipped a hat to our good friend Mr. Ken Schramm a moment ago, talking about. I can't remember what our topic was, but we were talking about Schramm a little bit.
We're talking about
replicating recipe.
Yeah, talking about counterfeiting.
So this next one,
this happened on my Discord server,
was from BC's Discord, and we had talked about it. We'd also experienced it, live in person when we went to Mazer Cup this past year. The mead we had there had a final gravity of 1.100. The mead we're talking about in this instance has a final gravity of 1.108.
Shout out to Brian S. on my Discord server. This is Schramm's nutmeg mead. He stuck an Easy Dens in there to see what that final gravity was.
Now,
that is higher than my
starting gravity on most things.
Standard starting gravity, yeah. Like probably these days, it's probably double my average starting gravity.
It is an interesting thing because there's elements of this that make me go, yeah, it's easier to make good mead when everything is super sweet. But then there's also the layer of that is cloyingly sweet.
Yeah.
And so in order for you to successfully create that, you have to figure out how to fight the cloying side. Mm-hmm. So obviously there has to be elements, acidity, hopefully acidity in there. I doubt tannin is going to do anything to kill that sweetness. But that one was a nutmeg mead. So in my brain, I'm going, that doesn't sound very acidic.
No. So
how on earth did it taste?
I'm curious.
Was it cloyingly sweet?
It seems like that would be insurmountable. But the thing I'll say about Schramm's meads is, of all the ones I've had, they've always been relatively well balanced.
Yeah.
There was, like you were mentioning, that traditional that we tried at Mazer that I thought was way too sugary for my palate.
Yeah.
But
even at that sweetness level with balance, though, you can still perceive that sugar. I mean, oh my gosh, that's chewing on the meat at some point.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I am also looking at the math going, that is 3 pounds of honey per gallon.
Back sweetened.
Yeah.
That's pretty intense.
But if we tasted your Sand Plum tonight. Mm-hmm. You said you added 2.5. So that was at 1080?
Probably.
I
don't have an Easy Dens to check it, but
right. It still needed more.
Mm-hmm. I mean, probably now that it's aged, I can see where it could use a little bit more honey. Yeah.
But regardless, that's still 1080. It's still a high, final gravity. So it is quite the weird thing. It does remind me of they were talking about Valkyrie's Horn, where they had a dump bucket of all the mead after they were done. And the final gravity, someone took and got a final gravity of that.
So disgusting.
Giant vat of mead.
So gross.
Which means that average roughly was about 1040.
Yeah.
For your final gravity. Now, obviously, there's people who went on either side. But on average, roughly, people are sitting there between 1020 and probably 1050 in your final gravities, which is...
I feel like it's high.
I get up to 1030 and I'm like...
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's 1108. It's wild.
Yeah, I should probably get an Easy Dens at some point. Like, it would have been fun to take it on our meadery tour and test them all to see.
Maybe we can reach out. See, hey,
you guys want to hook us up? You guys want to hook us up? Easy Dens?
Send this to Easy Dens.
Interesting stuff. I was shocked by it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that just seems unfathomable. But
I'm gonna let you take this next one.
If it sells, it sells. I could do one more.
Something different.
No. Feeling on the lighter side tonight. So next up, this is another one from Reddit. This is another one that I'd like to hear from the chat on. This question was posted in r/homebrewing. I believe that says comfortable bag is the username. They say they're getting back into brewing after about a decade. What have been the best new practices for the hobbyist in that time? Which I think is a fascinating question because I've been brewing since 2010. So that puts me at about 13, going on 14 years of homebrewing. And I feel like a lot has changed in that time. And for me, the biggest change I have seen is the focus on additives. Oh, yeah. You know, and I started out with country fruit wines and eventually made my way to more of a mead focus. And when I started, it was DAP and yeast energizer were the things that you used. Yes. You might use some powdered tannin. Pectic enzyme back then was sold generally in a liquid rather than a powder. So if I look back at my old recipes, I will have written like how many drops of pectic enzyme I used.
Weird.
Instead of
I didn't know it's in a liquid form.
Yeah, it was like an eyedropper kind of bottle, and you would drip it in. And there was, people weren't using Vermado or any of these really fancy soft tannins, or that was kind of fringe at that time. But now it feels like in the last 3 to 4 years, that's become kind of the standard for intermediate to advanced level homebrewers, even on the wine side, is calculating your yan, your fan, like keeping an eye on temperature regulation seems to be much more of a big interest now. Stuff like that. Brewing additives and how that has evolved is a thing that I have witnessed at the forefront. Thank you to Christian for the $10 Canadian. It says to put it toward the easy dens. Thank you. Christian. What do we need? Just another $300. Yeah, what is it? $390.
We'll get one tonight. Don't worry. Let's see what it is.
I don't think we're gonna get there tonight.
$389. That's all we need. We can get one Easy Tins.
But I will definitely put it in the Easy Tins bank account. Thank you, Christian. Yeah, I think that's what's changed. Like, that's the most prominent change that I have seen. What have you seen in your time?
I mean, I definitely... I just don't know if I discovered a lot of those things. I definitely feel like I grew into the powders and especially different yeast nutrients. Like you said, DAP was definitely the most notable one at the time. I did buy some like Fermax or yeast energizer at the store. I remember buying that. Maybe I feel like the emphasis on when to add fruits has changed too, because I feel like previously a lot of people were really leaning into like you have to add it always in primary was like a main thing I'd always heard for a long time, and then people started to kind of tweak with that a little bit and say like, oh, I'm gonna add it here. So I feel like more people have started adding it in a secondary fermentation or just a different time,
Yeah.
Purees, things like that, I also feel like have become more
like real fruit purees. Yeah.
Or pureeing your fruit, stuff like that. But also I feel like I discovered a lot of things, but I never went back and went, oh, that was started in 2010. I was just like, oh, people have been doing this. Okay, cool.
When I started to, and again, I'm speaking more from a winemaking lens than I know this question on r/homebrewing was asking more around beer brewing stuff. But back then, like Jack Keller was the Bible of winemaking. Like you would go on winemaking talk and be like, hey, I'm trying to make I got all these carrots in my garden. I think I'm going to make a carrot wine. And they would just
point you to something with these carrots.
Point you to Jack's website, right? And I don't know that is, I mean, he's passed away a couple years ago. I don't know that that's happening as much anymore. Like
I only see those vegetable brews on the weirder side of Reddit now.
Yeah, or on Happy Homestead. He's always making some onion wine and stuff.
It's true.
So there's some YouTube love out there for it.
There's some love out there for it.
For the beer brewing side, I think definitely the all-in-one systems have exploded in popularity, probably in like the last 2 years.
All grain,
really.
I feel like, is also really. I mean, people still do a lot of extract, but I definitely think the
brewing a bag all grain is
all-in-one
system
standard being
now.
Cheaper now has made it available for people to do all grain easier.
Yeah, when I started dabbling in beer, it was a lot of extract recipes that I would see where it would be like, here's your specialty grains, and then dump in, the 3.5 pound thing of dark liquid malt extract or whatever. And you don't really see that so much anymore.
No, I only did it a couple times. Like, liquid extract was something I started with, but then I got scared of doing it and gotten more into mead. So I don't know. I mean, a lot's changed, truly.
Yeah.
But a lot of it, I feel like for me specifically, came with just developing. And it was probably discovering that people had been doing things a different way than what I had learned initially. Which is, I'm sure, where everyone is. You are just learning and then going, oh, that's the next thing. But there's a top. I'm sure there is a top point where you're like, you can't. Remember your all oops, was it oops all powders or something like that video? Maybe that's the peak where you go,
that's as far as you can get.
Too much going on here. We've taken away too much of the brewing process at this point, or added too much.
Yeah, I think we're probably at the top of where the homebrewing limit can be pushed. I don't know where else it would go.
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing all grain. You have an all-in-one system to make beer. On the mead side, we've got all of this research around nutrients and and it's getting drilled down now to how much nutrient is in like each individual fruit on average, so you can factor that in. And so like I'm not really sure how much more you can push that on the homebrewing side.
And really only some people are diving that deep.
Yeah.
Who was it? Clawhammer Supply put out a video this week that was talking about their brew to beer, but then they also talked about kind of the decline of homebrewing, and he showed a graph which was interesting. It was like starting in 1990 something, craft homebrewing was really hitting its peak, or was up here, and then starting 2010 it started to really dip, and it's been flattening out to where it's 100% was now 20. And then the people Google searching breweries, local breweries, went up. So it was the opposite. As people were brewing their own beer, they weren't needing to go and buy homebrew or buy beer. Yeah. Obviously less of that now, so they're looking to buy more beer. And his inference from that was that homebrewing itself is dying, which is something we've talked about.
Yeah, we talked about it a lot. Yeah. And I don't disagree. But we've also talked a lot about the COVID spike.
Yeah.
And I do think there are extenuating external factors that can lead to surges. And we're, one economic crash or one war away from things
ripping back up.
Yeah. And so I don't want to, I think it's a bit doom and gloom, a bit FUD to say that homebrewing is dying. But I think like a lot of hobbies, we're seeing a pretty natural decline.
Yeah. People are getting back into the real world, And also making money to where they don't have to do the homebrewing thing. Part of it was like for a while, it's much more economical.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. When I was in my 20s, I was broke.
Yeah.
I was broke. I was working blue collar for no money.
Like, how can I get 5 gallons of beer?
So 5 gallons of Skeeter pea would be like $12 to make.
Right.
And then my friends and I can play cards on Friday nights and get ripped for like no money. And so now I've got like a professional white collar office job.
Like, I'll just go buy my Skeeter pea.
Well, I mean, like I can afford to get something nice if I want to, or conversely, I can afford to brew something nice if I want to. And it might be the one thing I make for 2 months.
Right.
But I'm dumping a bunch of money into making that one great thing.
Yeah. And where's the guarantee? Which one's more guaranteed at that point, you know? So, I don't know. I think a lot of people have the desire to, but then also life gets busy. And sometimes it's easy just to go ahead and buy your brews and not have to think about it.
There's some interesting commentary in the chat. Biedrick says, I think in the mead side, ingredient quality is something we can really push, like discovering the best varietals of fruit and other things like that. You know, like what's the best cranberry? You know, just like they do, like what's the best grape from this region to make this whatever. I can see that. Christian says, I think as more variety is available, people are not attempting to make it themselves. I think that's like, imagine if you lived in North Texas and you had meaderies all over the place.
Yeah.
Would you be that interested in making a bunch of mead?
I
mean, you would.
Well, I don't know though. I mean, if I wasn't who I am right now, that is obsessed with a hobby.
Yeah.
You know, if I was just a normal person consuming things on a regular basis, then probably not.
There's an alternate reality where this says "man buys mead" back here. Adept Nonsense says a lot of hobbies are fading because they can go out and spend money on stuff or vacation. I think that's accurate to things like, you know, crocheting, knitting. Mm-hmm. That stuff was really popular during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And now you go, you know, I was in the bookstore today at Full Circle, and there's like a whole shelf of all these knitting, crocheting, whatever books, just like off tucked in a dark corner by themselves.
So sad.
I mean, the other side of it was the homebrewing books. So, like,
while you're knitting, you can get lit.
Yeah. Knit and get lit.
Hey,
that's a new podcast right there.
Book.
Yeah, this will be in the.
It could just be us knitting. We're just drinking and
chapter
knitting.
Summary. Yeah, well, we could both start and we'll end in the middle with like a scarf.
Whoa.
Judd says,
"Lady and the Tramp." What is that?
You got it, man. Judd says craft beer in the U.S. exploded and sort of supplanted the need for interesting / good beers made at home. I can see that in this area, but I think there are also a lot of areas out there that are still dead zones for a good craft brew.
Yeah, I mean, an availability of people buying stuff became obviously more simple, but that doesn't mean it's always there. If you live in middle of nowhere, they're probably not importing the local craft beer from
Yingling
2 towns over.
Yeah.
So,
do you want any more boof juice? I got a full bottle right here.
I would not. That sounds awful.
Hate to let it go to waste.
This is your last thing of sand plum too.
It is. Well, maybe we should drink more.
Yeah, we'll drink a little bit more. So, BC, I want to add a new segment.
Go for it, man.
Recurring segment to our show.
Let's do it.
We both obviously like to talk. And we both like to educate through our conversation, hopefully. So every week, we're going to take a brewing topic of sorts and do a small deep dive explaining. Now, some people are going to be very familiar with the subject, which is great. I'm happy you are. Some people aren't going to be familiar with that subject. And the goal is for us to learn about whatever that is, even if it's us learning too, and hopefully I almost said alleviate, make things less confusing, because there's a lot of brewing terminology. There's a lot of processes, equipment, things that are like, I've heard about this thing, but I know nothing about it. We're going to start off simple. I think simple today. Yeah,
I think so.
So
I'm letting you take the lead on this. I don't know anything about potassium sorbate.
What do you know about potassium sorbate? What's your basic understanding of potassium sorbate? Because that's our first half of our topic.
So potassium sorbate is the thing that keeps the yeast from reproducing.
Yes.
And it is sorbate is the thing you're after, and it's bonded to potassium so that it is stable enough for it to sit around on your shelf
Yes.
And then you put it in, and the sorbate does its thing and stunts the yeast's ability to do the sloom shuffle.
Sloom shuffle.
Am I close?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm going to kind of read verbatim from something because I feel like it says it better, more eloquently than me. Potassium sorbate looks like white salt and is highly soluble in water and ethanol. This solubility, that's fun to say, factor is important because potassium sorbate must dissolve in water to release its active from, I don't know, that's a weird thing, from sorbic acid. I don't know if they redacted something.
I think it's supposed to be form. Active form.
There we go. Active form, sorbic acid. So sorbic acid, potassium sorbate, that's the active form of it. Sorbic acid is absorbed into fungal cells where it can either kill the cell or inhibit its growth. These are known as fungicidal and fungistatic. No, I almost said fungistatic or fungitastic.
That's fungitastic.
These are known as fungicidal and fungistatic activity, respectively. It also works to prevent bacterial growth. Potassium sorbate works best in acidic solutions around 4 pH, according to this. However, adding a sorbic acid directly to drinks or foods with higher water content is not as effective as using potassium sorbate because sorbic acid is less soluble. Hence, you are more likely to find sorbic acid in cheese and dried fruit than in wines.
Okay.
Which I find interesting. So, that kind of hit the food side there. But basically, we always hear it as you just add the sorbate and it kills the yeast. And it, in a sense, that's what it's doing here. That sorbic acid is what is really taking a grip there. But we always think of it as potassium sorbate. So I think the thing I want people to get from this is the sorbate is the initial part, and the sorbic acid is what the form, the little product that comes out of that. And that's what changes your yeast's ability to keep on going.
Keep on.
Fungicidal and fungistatic solutions activity. So there's the other side. That's step one. We're talking about stabilizing. Hopefully demystifying stabilizing.
Yeah.
With these two, of course. There's a billion ways to stabilize. Or really 3. So
Right.
The other half of it is metabisulfite. So what do you know about metabisulfite?
So metabisulfite, there's 2 forms. There's potassium metabisulfite or there's sodium metabisulfite. And both of those are like the carrier. Just like you use potassium in potassium sorbate to get the sorbate in, you're using potassium or sodium in your metabisulfite to get the sulfite into it. And then it's an oxygen scavenger. And so it goes in and it bonds and removes oxygen from the brew, so the yeast don't have that available to go through their synthesis process. And so the reason you need both is because they both take care of one aspect of yeast growing and reproducing. And so you can't use one or the other. You have to use both to have a trustworthy halt to your fermentation process. And they're only really effective when fermentation has finished.
Yes.
Not.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to add it.
Not in an active fermentation.
Yeah. This little spot that I'm going to read doesn't talk about much of the oxygen point, but you're right there. That is something important about metabisulfite. Is the intent there is to scavenge the oxygen. So normally when we're racking, I'd throw a Camden tablet in.
Yeah, I usually do about a half.
Because if it's well, let's say this.
In a 5-gallon batch.
It will gas itself out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's going to be gone. And a lot of people think that it's floating around in there eternally. But the truth is, most of the time, it's gassed out.
Yeah.
So this says, this is used in the bottling process of the wine industry. This is what it says here. When they add potassium metabisulfite to wine, a sulfur dioxide gas forms, which destroys microorganisms in the wine and prevents mold and bacteria from growing inside the wine bottle. Additionally, potassium metabisulfite is a strong antioxidant that protects the color and flavors of the wine. So they talk about it some there.
Mm-hmm.
With the use of potassium metabisulfite, wines would develop a stronger taste over time as the wine ages in the bottle. And then it tells you an amount. says 1/4 teaspoon for 5 gallons. That's what this says.
Of just the powdered stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the two in tandem, you join together and allow you to be able to add any other sugar you want.
Mm-hmm.
When simply put, sorbate kills the yeast. Sulfite takes a lot of the oxygen out, especially taking away any chance of any reproducing ability there.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to put them in tandem. Because one thing that I heard a while back was sorbate kills the yeast that are there.
Mm-hmm.
If there's any new yeast that are introduced, like you threw in some
fruit or something.
Yeah. There's a chance that any wild yeast that somehow fights through the sorbate that's there, which it could, if it's strong enough, will come back, reproduce, and keep on going. So, important stuff. And I know that some people are like, I already know this. Hopefully, you have some more knowledge on it, or you learn something new about it. And the intent here is I hope that you guys aren't afraid of trying it. Obviously, if you are highly allergic to sulfites, different situation. We're not necessarily trying to put any shame towards that, because that's an understandable thing. But before you knock it, give it a shot. I personally have never been able to taste the sulfites. In fact, I have a tasting event that I probably will pull you in for in a little bit to see if we can taste those.
Interesting.
2 years later after some aging. So
it takes quite a bit of sulfites for you to be able to notice them. Our human perception of sulfite levels is actually not very good. And so it takes quite a bit parts per million. I have heard of people who accidentally did too much, and what they notice is that it kind of tastes like burnt match or smells like a burnt match.
Okay.
That sulfur, that very specific, I think it's hydrogen disulfide is that aroma. But that's what they get from it. Now, I have heard that sorbate has a tendency to break down during aging. I have never experienced this, so I don't have any personal experience. But you can see online, you can find people who will talk about how sorbate can develop like a celery kind of flavor after years in the bottle as it breaks down. And so I don't know if it's true or not because I've never experienced it. But in the Dwozniak that I made for my kid, for her to open up when she's 21, I didn't stabilize at all. I did it as a Dwozniak. I let it naturally limit stabilize itself. So that way I didn't run any risk of, opening a bottle in 2 decades.
Right.
And tasting like
celery.
Cream of celery soup or something.
One last thing about sorbate, because I was curious. What is sorbate in? And this is a list of a few things. Apple cider, as we talked about tonight. Baked goods. This is general, but in there. Canned fruits and vegetables, cheeses, dried meats, dried fruit, ice cream, pickles, soft drinks and juices, wine, yogurt. These are lots of things where you'll find sorbate. And I mention this because a ton of people are like, I would never touch a sorbate.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if you've ever had one of these things, or if you have them on a regular basis, you are consuming them.
It's interesting. The sodas is interesting. I was at the brew shop a month or two ago, and I needed to buy new stabilizers because I was feeling like mine. They expire after about a year or so.
Right.
They start to lose their potency at that point, about 10% per year. And you really want to have them at full potency because when you're measuring them out, you want to make sure you have the right amount in there so you don't get bottle bombs later. And a tanner at the brew shop was telling me that they had just been cleaned out of their sorbate. And I was like, who? Why? And he said the local soda companies around here all sorbate their sodas so they're shelf stable.
I mean, it makes sense, though. If something were to somehow get in there, all that sugar.
Yeah, I presumed that there weren't any microbes in there, right?
If you're filtering, but maybe they're not filtering. Maybe they're
I feel like they're just mixing it up and putting it in a can with some, force carbs, right?
Yeah. I don't know. It seems like an easy way
I don't know.
to...
But maybe
throw some sorbate in, ensure that you're not going to have any problems.
I guess maybe if they're using natural fruit flavors, they want to keep it fresh tasting.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of it. I don't know. I thought it was interesting. They had all they had was the little dime bags of sorbate.
And you're like, I need 12 pounds.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I need much more than that. You know how much of this stuff I go through? So I end up having to get it on Amazon. But
I looked up metabisulfite, and I can't remember what was all there. But there's also stuff that has metabisulfite in it. Less common than other things.
This is a good question from Biedrick, and Larry answered it, but I think it's important for us to answer it for listeners at home. Doesn't sorbate also develop a nasty flavor or odor if malolactic fermentation occurs after it has been added?
I don't know the answer to this, actually.
I do know the answer to this because I have used MLF cultures a few times, and when I was researching it, I ran into this question, and I read the studies on it. It is apparently definitely true that active malolactic bacteria in the presence of sorbate create a compound that creates a geranium flavor.
Interesting. Okay.
And so you can stabilize something that's gone through MLF, but you have to be certain that it's done. And that process takes 6 to 8 weeks generally. And so really, if you're going to stabilize something that's gone through MLF, you want to wait months to make sure that is done before you do it. I have successfully stabilized using sorbate stuff that's gone through MLF, and it's been fine. But I've waited that extra time.
I never thought about that.
Yeah. And so, homebrewers aren't usually doing MLF. You usually have to inoculate to make that happen. And an MLF culture is like $15 for one bag. So you got to be confident you want to do it.
I don't normally want to do that, I'll be honest. Very rarely.
So it's great for some fruits.
I would love for us to do this on each podcast. And, well, of course, we can come up with topics of things that questions we see a lot, things we can answer. But if you have a topic that you think would be helpful for people to have a better understanding of, in my Discord, on the Man-Made Mead Discord, there is a channel, Homebrew Guys channel, where we asked you to put any articles, any news things you find related towards the show, put them on there, but then also put your requests and say, hey, I'd love a deep dive on, I don't know, name your topic, the thing that you've maybe been trying to research or you wish you had known a long time ago, because the hope here is that we are helping people understand more about the topic of homebrewing with just a short segment, and it will probably save people some time and some money if they don't have to go through the error of learning about sorbate and going, oh, I didn't realize my sorbate could go bad. I had no idea. I thought I just did something wrong. So there's a lot of information we can give to hopefully help.
There was I don't know if it was on my Discord or if it was on Reddit. There was an interesting post I saw the other day where somebody was visually comparing sorbate that they had bought a year ago to the stuff that they had just bought.
Oh.
And the color and texture difference was very apparent.
Interesting.
Like the new stuff was bright and white and crispy, and the old stuff was yellowed and brown and crunchy.
Mine's never gotten that bad. So it makes me wonder how long that person sat with theirs.
Yeah. I mean, it happens, I guess. Adept Nonsense says that he has a side-by-side photo of sorbates. Go post it. Go post it in the Discord. Also, great comment from Texas Longhouse Mead, who just judged a mead competition.
And won a medal.
But
just for you, Texas Longhouse Mead.
Says, judging other comps has made me like Mead Stampede more and more. I don't know that was relevant, but... interesting. Jet says that pectic enzyme also has a shelf life. Maybe we'll look at that on an upcoming episode of the Homebrew Guys podcast.
This is what we want. We want your ideas. Of course, again, we'll come up with some things if you guys don't bring anything forward. We're going to keep this segment going because it's beneficial not just for you guys, but it helped me. I mean, I learned a little bit about this too. I had, going into this, a pretty basic understanding of sorbate, and now after doing some research, okay, that makes more sense.
You're an expert now.
Probably not.
Okay.
That's it.
I don't think we're going to do a December episode, probably.
No. Too busy.
December is a busy time of year, so we'll probably be back after the turn of the new year.
We do want to see what you're doing, though, in the Discords. If you are not currently a member of both of our Discords, please join both. You can find links somewhere. You can go to my YouTube channel and find them for myself, and then BC has his plastered down below as well. if you were wanting to support us, it is the season of giving. Check out our Patreon and our YouTube membership. Every bit of money that we get goes to making the channel continue to run, continue to make content, and I can guarantee you that we are using your money well. None of it really ever hits our pocket. I don't think I've ever really put money in my pocket. It's all been put right back to the channel, and that's how it's supposed to be. We want to use your money well.
Yeah. And believe me, we do.
Yeah. Honey is expensive. We know. We just bought.
Honey is expensive.
60-pound pails. Gears. Yeah.
Our time
yeah.
is worth something. And so we appreciate your support in helping keep our channels alive.
So, yeah. Thanks for being here. Thanks for spending your time. If you are somebody who is listening on the audio only, thank you for doing that. There is a video portion. If you want to watch us in person, it might be a little choppy at the beginning, but there is a video portion. Yeah. And then if you're someone watching on video and you don't have time to listen, check out the audio version on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, everywhere that podcasts can be streamed. You can find us at the Homebrew Guys.
Wherever podcasts are heard.
I'm about to call up my internet provider because that is psychotically slow. 1
megabit.
Yo, that's nuts.
But your upload speed has increased by
that's
3 or so.
Well,
all right.
Thank you for bearing with a choppy video if it's been that way, but we appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out with us. We'll be back in January, so stay well.
Check out our YouTube channels in the meantime. We'll still be posting.
We got a lot of upcoming content, some holiday-themed content coming up. Stay well. Enjoy some time with your family. Share some homebrews. Mull some wine and mead. Roast some chestnuts by the open fire.
Keep on going. Hear, hear.
Applause.
Dang it. That was the one I needed. That was a cash register button.
Oh, was that the cash register? Ka-ching.
I should have used that earlier.
Y'all, take it easy. Stay well. Stay blessed. And stay safe out there.
See ya.
Bye.